What's up, everybody? Jim and Eric here this week for Keeping It Real. Terry is sitting this one out. Let's start right off the top. Captain America Civil War. We've got Spider-Man and we've got more of Black Panther. Yeah. Eric, how awesome was that trailer? Tell me what I want to hear.
It was freaking awesome. I mean, I did wonder, would they hold back on Spidey? Would they maybe not reveal him until the actual movie, you know?
Pull a Luke Skywalker in Force Awakens.
Pull a Luke, because we were talking about, the mainstream audience who are not following all the websites, including IGN, and reading about all this stuff, will not even know Spider-Man's in the movie right now. Right. It's still a huge movie, right?
Yeah.
It's Civil War, Captain America versus Iron Man. They could have held it, but they didn't, and it was so exciting to see him. But it was a great trailer anyway.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, ooh, like that's awesome moments.
Yeah, there's plenty of great stuff in there anyways, and we're going to talk more about Spidey in a little bit. Black Panther and Winter Soldier definitely are front and center in a lot of this trailer. Now, folks might not realize this, but you did a set visit last year.
I did.
Why don't you tell folks about some of the stuff that you saw that ended up in the trailer?
Yeah. So the big things we saw on the set visit were the Team Cap, the 6 people on Team Cap running forward. You see that in the trailer, except we didn't see Falcon and Scarlet Witch taking flight. We just saw them running.
That we get to see her fly.
Yeah, but it was still an amazing moment. I'm a lifelong Marvel Comics fan. I've been reading them since I was a very, very young kid. So to see these people come out in the full costume and 6 of them all together, that was awesome.
Sweltering Atlanta.
It was like 110 degrees. I will say that you really felt the heat. Looking at those costumes, I did not envy them at that moment. They're very well compensated, but at that moment, I still felt bad for them, and they were, they needed to keep these people cool. They were doing everything they could in between takes. But the other thing we watched was some specifics of the fight that is obviously going to happen between the two teams, because we didn't see Team Iron Man run forward.
Yeah.
But then we got to see them shoot what is going to be Black Widow versus Hawkeye. They are going to brawl, those good buddies.
We did see a smidge of that in one of the spots where they kind of quip about it in that
right, a little glimpse. And then what we watched Scarlett Johansson and Jeremy Renner shoot that scene, but in the background, the stunt doubles for Black Panther and Bucky are fighting. So Winter Soldier versus Black Panther is going to be during that battle too, because the stuff you see in the trailer is all Bucky in civilian clothes being pursued by Black Panther, fighting him on the rooftop. It looks like they're gonna have quite a vendetta in this movie, because they're also gonna brawl during the big hero versus hero moment.
That is, I mean, we did see, let's talk a little bit about what we saw in the new trailer, and one of them was an attack on a UN assembly of some kind.
Yeah.
And you can tell because the UN logo is there at a podium. And T'Challa is there. We get, first look at Chadwick Boseman. And clearly is it just the principle of the leaders of this world were attacked?
Right.
Or do you think something more personal happens? Is his dad killed? Is there a buddy killed?
I mean, it could be as easy as people who work for him, or, I don't think it'll be his family, because I think that's stuff they'd probably want to hold for the Black Panther movie. Yeah. But it can just be he's present. All you have to do is have him quipping with someone who's either on his staff or someone he knows from even another country.
I can't wait to go to your wedding.
Right. 2 weeks from retirement. And that happens, and he's there for that, and it makes it deeply personal. The one thing that we see Crossbones a tiny bit in the trailer, but we don't see, what's the actor's name?
Frank Grillo.
No, not Frank Grillo, the guy who we believe is playing Baron Zemo, because I think he's said it.
Oh, Daniel Bruhl.
Yeah, Daniel Bruhl. We don't see Daniel Bruhl, but it's you do wonder, because we're okay, Bucky, we assume, did not blow up the UN, or Cap wouldn't still be defending him. So is it Zemo? Is it remnants of Hydra sort of pulling the strings here?
Because we do see the Hydra logo. There are a couple of different prison facilities. Eric and I have done a rewind theater on the new trailer. So we'll get into more detail in that. We're going to try and just keep it on topic here. But Hydra definitely is in Civil War, and they seem to be the ones kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Because we think we see the Hydra logo at that Russian prison, but even just the fact that Crossbones is in the movie, who was Hydra and Winter Soldier, and if you're introducing Zemo, there's definitely ways to tie it all in. Even if it's not Hydra specifically, it's people connected to Hydra, people who would probably know what the Winter Soldier is and maybe how to either use him or make it look like they're using him.
And he seems like he's getting captured and recaptured and on the
Yes.
run and then not on the run. Like I'm a little confused as to sort of the continuity of his
Right.
particular journey in this story.
Because this trailer didn't even include the scene that began the last trailer from the end of Ant-Man, where he's got his arm stuck in the thing with Cap and Falcon. So
and also, I mean, the last time we saw him too, he was checking out the Smithsonian exhibit
Yeah.
on Cap. So I want to know, like, did he end up going back to Hydra? Like, what else am I gonna do? Like,
I think it's more that he went looking for answers, and I think they capture him, and I think the beginning of the movie is him in that Russian facility.
Yeah, that'd
And
be cool. Yeah, I mean, I also think that some folks online were sort of like, well, they didn't focus enough on the Cap-Bucky relationship in this one. I thought that seemed pretty clear right from the top.
Yeah, I felt like that. Actually, I meant to mention this in the rewind and I forgot. The first trailer was so personal for Cap.
Yeah.
This was more of the big picture. This was more of showing the consequences of what happened in the other movies, why this is happening, and much more like the battle between the two sides of heroes. I thought they didn't have to repeat the "I'm doing this for my friend Bucky."
There was the emotional beats trailer. This is basically the glory trailer, if you will. I mean, this is
the everything in the kitchen sink
everyone
and the Spider-Man.
come to see this movie.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I liked about this is that we saw even more of Black Panther in action and really get a good look at the suit and also how he moves.
Yeah.
And you learned a few things on the set visit about
that was
too.
really cool because we didn't see Chadwick Boseman in the costume. We talked to him, but then we saw the stunt double. So the way we saw the costume was the stunt double come out wearing it, and it was a very cool moment when we all saw him wearing it. And they'd already teased his fighting ability. The writers and everyone involved said, "Oh, it's really cool," and it was. It is very Panther. He pounces. He swipes with those claws. And it was really cool to watch the stunt doubles because they got to unleash. Right, they're in the background. Renner and Johansson are up front, but they're in the background, and it's these two highly trained stunt people dressed as Winter Soldier and Black Panther, totally going at it. And Winter Soldier's got his fighting technique.
Like so much fun.
It was really cool. It was really cool, I have to say.
Oh, man.
And Black Panther, it was very distinct, and I love the sort of animalistic, pouncing nature of it.
Well, you see that too, just the way he runs and jumps on the car and snags the motorcycle of Bucky's, like with his talons. So yeah, I really enjoyed all the stuff that we learned about Panther. But let's face it, people are talking about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spidey is the star of the show.
He's popular.
And he's in a moment. He's in just the moment at the very end of the trailer. Overall, what did you think of the look and just the reveal of the character, the way they used him in that trailer?
The reveal's super fun. We were talking earlier about how cool it will be for people who don't know Spider-Man is in this movie, and we were even talking about
Who's in the MCU,
right? Who's that he's in the MCU? Kids, are going to lose their minds just seeing him on screen with these other characters. You and I think we both had a little bit of quibbles with some specifics on the costume.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it reminds me a bit of the Amazing Spider-Man 1 costume, which seemed a little overly busy. Sometimes there were some tweaks in that costume and in this one too that seemed to be there for the sake of tweaking it. And some of those lines and
Did that surprise you that Marvel, who have been so pretty faithful to the suits, kind of did that to their flagship guy that they finally got back? I'm a little curious about their decisions.
I do wonder if it's because of the bad reception of Amazing 2 and the wish to really, even visually, say this is, even though that costume was so great, that's like the one thing everyone loved in Amazing 2 was the costume. It was so dead on comics, but maybe they felt, we just need people to know this is not that Spider-Man, so we have to tweak it. And, we've already joked, and I think it is true. Look, he'll probably get back into a costume that looks just kind of like the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and I hope those are the only connections to them. Especially the fact that it seems like he's got like the tech with the eyes changing size.
Yeah, the irises and the...
Yeah, maybe he drops that. Who knows? But either way, I think, by his own movie or certainly one of the sequels, he can be back in something more 100% traditional. But he still look great.
And we need to kind of like dampen whatever flames are out there of people thinking, oh, they're just doing that with his eyes because of Deadpool.
Yeah.
Folks, it doesn't work like that. There's too much time
involved. A movie that opened last month did not change the visual look and
whose
a
effects
major
weren't
effects.
finished until like I think the print was dripping wet going to the theater.
And of course, people even noted that Deadpool visually anyway was based on Spider-Man. You know, that was a huge influence. But yeah, no, I think this was a decision, again, something to make him distinct, something to make him more like the comics, but make it work in universe by having it be a tech-based reason for it. You know, I think that's
it
cool.
also allows for humor, it allows for expression, it allows for all sorts of different things that they can do. One eye can kind of close, one eye can, you know, it could be great. I'm curious to see how that tech works. Kind of speculated a little bit on the, we did a costume rewind too.
Where, we've spoken a bit about this movie.
Yes, where if I'm hoarse, it's because we've been talking about it all day. But I am curious to see, is it like kind of a thought-controlled tech? Something, it's gotta be something. I mean, your eyes don't change without, you know, I don't think he's touching anything to change his eyes.
It'd be a little distracting.
And also we do see he has the external web shooters back. And, you know, so that's interesting that they're doing that. Right? Even, I believe, even in the Amazing Spider-Man movies, they were hidden underneath
They were
the glove.
Mostly hidden except for like the actual, you know, like lever and the nozzle.
This is more like the 70s Spider-Man show where he had the bracelet, the gauntlet thing.
Or Ben Reilly when he was Spider-Man, after he was the with the clone Spider-Man, and then Scarlet Spider, then he became Ben Reilly in the Spider-Man costume. He had external.
Do you think that there are nods to perhaps some of the less popular Spider-Man stuff in there? Like I thought there, and I don't know if the 2099 Spider-Man is less popular, so perhaps I phrased that poorly, but you know, some of the busyness of the suit looked like almost like taken from different iterations of Spider-Man that I don't think you really needed to acknowledge.
I don't even know if they consciously were doing that as much as just, like I do think it was let's make this look different from Amazing 2, just because we want to relaunch Spider-Man.
And it's a fabric costume too, so we have, you know, both Batman and BVS, the fabric suit. See, I'm losing my voice. It's worth it though, talking about Spider-Man. But, you know, the Spider-Man reveal and the fact that we got to hear Tom Holland's voice and that he sounds like such a kid, it really is, God, I can't wait. It's just, we're just a couple of months away, people.
I know, it's pretty exciting.
Now, that's not the only thing about Spider-Man we've been hearing and learning about in the last week. We didn't have a Keepin' It Real last week. However, that didn't mean the news stopped.
It did not. It never stops.
Beginning of this week, we learned that Zendaya is going to be in the Spider-Man reboot, which starts filming in a few months. Comes out next year. And that she's going to play a character named Michelle, not a lead role from according to reports. And then there's some speculation that Michelle could be Michelle Gonzalez, who was a character in the comics. She was a criminal defense attorney and was supposedly hot-tempered and had a shotgun. I didn't read that arc, but if she's playing her, she can't possibly be playing the criminal defense lawyer.
And she's too young.
Like
I don't think it'll be that character.
And then we also found out that they're making a Venom solo movie that will not have Spider-Man in it.
Again, this idea has come back up because they've been trying to do this for years. I think the confusion here is because this is Sony doing it. It's Avi Arad producing it, you know, who's been.
They will never get him on. He is that leech you can't burn off. I'm sorry, Avi.
He's contractually tied to it. But everyone's really confused by this because they're like, okay, will this be a completely standalone movie? Will it not be connected to the new Spider-Man movies, which are part of the MCU? Which seems really bizarre.
But Marvel would have to make another deal for Venom. And I do wonder how much the Venom, all this development is a reaction to Deadpool. Let's get another, you know, 90s anti-hero, you know, guy that has this giant following with millennials and all that. Like you know, they've had about 6 weeks before the movie came out to realize the hype machine was building for that. And they might be onto something. So
we don't think Spider-Man's eyes were changed because of Deadpool, but Venom suddenly being pushed back again. It could be. I wonder if cooler heads will prevail because it just seems so strange to me to try to launch that movie as a separate thing. And do you try to explain his backstory as being connected to Spider-Man without showing Spider-Man, or do you just completely have him be a character with no connection to Spider-Man, and then what's the point?
How did the Steel movie do it with Superman? Did they mention Superman?
No, they didn't. I don't know.
So they're going to go the route of Steel.
I mean, they could just have it be alien goo. You know, a dude finds alien goo, and yeah, that's it. You know, there's no Spider-Man.
Well, you know what else there won't be? Despite a fan petition to the contrary, J.K. Simmons will not be back as J. Jonah Jameson. You know why?
Why? I do know why, but tell me again.
Well, he was cast as Jim Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, in the Justice League movie.
Yeah.
Now, one, that's pretty awesome casting.
Yeah.
And two, it is a little strange because rumors for about a year and a half now were that Commissioner Gordon's dead in this continuity, and that this is years later. Well, unless Justice League is a prequel, which it won't be, or there are flashbacks or something, you know, J.K. Simmons' Jim Gordon exists now in the BVS universe, this DC multiverse thing.
I don't know if you've read, like, I read some stories that said he was dead in the scripts for a long time, and then some of the last rewrites changed it to retired.
Yeah.
And so they unkilled him before they started shooting, and then that means...
Probably a smart idea.
Yeah, and now he can come out of retirement. You know, he can
one
bring him
last
back.
job.
Right,
well, it was also revealed accidentally, apparently, by some sort of Warner Brothers document that got out there on Reddit, purportedly that Jenna Malone is Barbara Gordon in the movie, and her scenes were cut.
Yeah.
And they're going to be on the R-rated kind of Blu-ray edition.
And, you know, a lot of us had assumed that's who she would be playing. And then I think the question is she in the wheelchair? There's already kind of...
Or is she Commissioner Gordon?
Or is she the new Commissioner Gordon? There's a lot of different ways to go because there's, that route. Was in Batman Beyond, wasn't she Commissioner?
Yeah, I think so. There was some... And there was one storyline... it was almost not like an Elseworlds thing, but it was kind of like a nightmare scenario where she was hunting down Batman.
Right. And then, but you know, of course, because they've got the Joker costume, and that seems like a nod to the comics that something horrible happened. Well, yeah, you could have her in the wheelchair. Although that's such a weird thing because they're kind of trying to distance the Killing Joke a bit, even though they're doing an animated movie of it, and yet people love Oracle, but she's back as Batgirl in the comics.
Suit up and have another kick-ass female lead.
Yeah.
I mean, now you'd have to find a way to undo that. But I suppose if we're dealing with alien tech, anything is not, you know, out of the realm of possibility now. But speaking of alien tech, Green Lantern, according to producer Charles Roven, producer of these DC movies, he's not going to be in Justice League Part 1.
Right.
He might not show up until Part 2, if not until his own movie in 2020.
Yeah, I would bet they'll use Justice League Part 2, I guess, at this point to bring him back. Again, you're dealing with that whole, like, tainted goods thing and trying to separate from, you know, what was such a... Because let's not forget, guys, Green Lantern was supposed to launch the DC movie universe.
It was supposed to be that this was going to be their more Marvel in tone thing that they were trying to do.
Because everyone knew the Nolan movies couldn't lead to a bigger... Because it was so no powers. But it was supposed to be Green Lantern, and it was such a disaster for them that, I think it's just we're going to bring him back, but we're going to give this as much time as possible.
Yeah.
And maybe it's, because we are, a lot of us are so worried about Batman vs. Superman bringing in 20 characters, Yeah. Maybe it is for the best that we're like, okay, that guy, we've got plans for him, but we will be patient.
I will say, and we won't go down this rabbit hole because I know we're on a time crunch, but...
I have to be somewhere, I'm sorry.
The BVS... trailer, the second to last one where they revealed Wonder Woman at the very end. It's structurally similar to what's going on with the Civil War trailer. And both of them are stuffed with characters who I'm sure will just be a passing moment here and there. But we can analyze the sort of the similarities and differences in those movies once we finally see them. But Superhero Show, to give those guys across the pond a shout out, did do a show, I think last week or so, about how the same story's kind of being told in Civil War, BVS, even Daredevil season 2. Yeah. With like heroes with clashing ideologies.
And you mentioned it's funny that like
and the kick-ass female lead that comes in.
And you mentioned though that the Civil War trailer ends with the like reveal of Spider-Man a la Wonder Woman being revealed. In the BVS trailer. The only thing I said that the BVS trailer did on top of that is then show the villain that they're gonna stop fighting to team up to fight. Which everyone is kind of like, maybe I should have left that out.
Now let's move on from all things comic book related, but want to know your thoughts. So
wait, there are movies not based on comic books?
For the time being, we still have a few left that aren't based on comics. That's probably going to change. But they're based on other properties. So let's start with the Ghostbusters reboot. 2 trailers now, the domestic one and the international one this week. came out. International one has gotten a much more widely kind of embrace from fans. What did you think of both of these trailers and so far what you've seen and learned of this movie?
The second one was definitely better, stronger. The first one, and this is a movie I'm rooting for and really want to like, but wasn't a great trailer. I also didn't hate the trailer, I should say, too. And there were some parts that made me laugh, but there were some other parts that, And it was just, more so though, I was struck by structurally, it was a really weird trailer, especially when we're so close to the movie. The movie's only a few months away. And the biggest thing we talked a lot about was the whole opening that makes it feel like a sequel. Right. Everything about the 30 years ago is what you would do for a long-awaited sequel. Yeah. And I think it's just confusing matters, because you were there at the first debut of this trailer where Paul Feig is like, no, it's not a sequel.
It's a separate universe. Yeah. Ghosts have never appeared in the real world before, and so all of a sudden what would happen? They want to recapture that sort of the phenomenon that we see in the first Ghostbusters where they breathe and they're all like flying over the city, and that was my recreation of that great moment from the movie. Yes. But I agree with you. The trailer is very confusing because it even led to, in our own rewind, like, is there time travel involved? Because you see Times Square and there's like 70s stuff, and it's so crazy. And then the international trailer, they play up the Chris Hemsworth sort of Janine analog more. And then, more kind of slapstick and all that. I will say that trailers, by and large, haven't done Paul Feig's movies justice. Yeah. Like Spy, the trailers didn't make it look that good.
Spy was okay, the trailer, but I love the movie.
Yeah, but the movie was a big hit that a lot of people liked, and those trailers, though, didn't do it any justice. So I'm thinking we might be in the same boat here with that.
I hope so. And it's funny because
maybe needs a new trailer house.
New trailer person, because I'm really rooting for this movie, and we've joked about this, talked about this, but not joked even. Because there is, look, and I get this on Twitter a lot when I make mentions about like sexist comments about Ghostbusters. People go, can't I just not think it looks bad because I think it looks bad? I go, absolutely. Yeah. You can say that trailer looks horrible, and there are people who say that, and I'm fine with that. There's another contingent. There's another contingent that once it goes into the it literally goes into the why is it all women ghost busting? That I'm like, come on. Yeah. So just to spite those people, I want this movie to be a giant hit. I want it to be a good movie. So I do, but I like Paul Feig. I like a lot of his stuff, and I'm very excited. I just got the Freaks and Geeks Blu-ray set. I hope that this trailer is just a kind of bad first trailer, but because it took so long to get it, it's a little disappointing.
Yeah, we're this close to the release, and the marketing is finally ramping up, and to kind of get off on the wrong foot it's a little unnerving, and especially considering the very vocal contingent of people online who have made it sort of their passion to just attack the movie, and unfortunately the people who are making it on a daily basis. But look, if the movie's not funny and it doesn't work, we'll certainly be talking about that. But if it's a good movie and it's fun, which we hope it is,
I like good fun movies.
I do too. Yeah. Now here's something else: a female-led reboot. Well, there's no other way it could be. It's Tomb Raider I'm getting to, so I screwed up my own segue. I'm usually a master of the segue, but the report is that Daisy Ridley is a front-runner for the role of Lara Croft in the Tomb Raider movie reboot, which are going to draw more from the more recent games. Yeah. I want to ask you a question here. If Daisy Ridley does, as these reports suggest, take on the role of Lara Croft in the Tomb Raider reboot, is that a good career move for her coming off of Star Wars?
I guess my simple and sort of silly answer is if it's a good movie, it is. It's really complicated when you're in a situation like this because, you got something it makes me think of Jennifer Lawrence, who, you get the feeling I think she gets along fine with everyone who makes the X-Men movies, but at the end of the day, she didn't need two giant franchises, right? Yeah. It's like she would have been cool with just the Hunger Games, She didn't also need X-Men. So I could see Daisy Ridley doing the thing of maybe I should do some smaller, more quirky stuff away from, you don't get bigger than Star Wars, right? Right. But at the same time, I could also see, a franchise that's really hers in a way that Star Wars can never be because it's too big,
And she, if there's one thing we've learned about, Daisy Ridley as an actress, thanks to Force Awakens, is she has charisma. She's bright.
Yeah.
She can handle herself in a physical, action-oriented role. She's funny. Like, she could, and she's British.
No.
She doesn't have to fake the accent like Angelina Jolie did.
Once I heard the casting, the possibility, I go, of course. It's almost too perfect. I mean, they're like going to make a new Tomb Raider movie.
She got the hair already.
Yeah. The games made Lara younger, and like, you know, it just everything. And then the fact that in Force Awakens, she was this scavenger who we're introduced to basically going into a tomb, which is a Death Star. Raiding a tomb, a Death Star tomb. Not Death Star, Star Destroyer. I'm so glad I fixed that.
Oh my Lord, man. You of all people.
Had to stop being a Star Wars
you're going to screw up something Marvel related.
I know.
Horrible.
But yeah, you just, that's an easy pick for a producer to make.
Yeah.
But I get it. And if she did it, if it's a fun script, it is something she could nail, I think. So I could see why she'd want, why her people certainly would be like, yeah, you should do your own big franchise.
I feel like she could go one of two ways here. She could try to do the Keira Knightley thing where, okay, Pirates is my paycheck franchise.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go off and do a lot of costume dramas or like indie dramedies.
Yeah.
Or she goes all in. She's like, look, I'm 20 years old or whatever she is. I might as well do as many ass-kicking roles as I can until I feel like I'm going to sit down.
Right.
And just cash those checks, you know? I mean, let's face it, female-led genre movies are super hot right now. And I think, look, if she did the movie and it didn't work, she can do another Star Wars movie, and that will kind of erase whatever black mark ends up there on the filmography. But, considering the Tomb Raider movies are some of the highest grossing video game movies.
Oh, yeah.
If not the highest grossing,
I mean, and that first one, is still a huge
So,
hit.
I think following Angelina Jolie's kind of tough act to follow, but I think enough time, and there's not enough people in love with that movie franchise. But, I think it's a good, look, if I was your agent, I would just say maybe try it out for just one, but don't sign for 3, just sign for 2.
Yeah, that, and then look for a remake of Corvette Summer that she can star in. That's a deep cut, people.
That's a
look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about.
I saw that movie more times as a kid than I wanted to.
I've never
because
seen
it was Luke Skywalker.
Never seen it, but
it's good. That's good. Let's move on. If I want to know what you guys think, though. Do you think Daisy Ridley should be Lara Croft in Tomb Raider? Would you like to see her do something else, or do you have a better pick maybe for Lara Croft? Let us know in the comments. Let's move on to just a couple of quick little things. The Predator, Shane Black's new Predator movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger revealed that he's going to have a meeting soon with Shane Black about possibly reprising the role of Dutch. To which I say, why bother? Bring Arnold back for Terminator Genesis didn't help that franchise.
Yeah.
Which is now essentially dead again.
I see both sides of this, and that you're totally right. It's kind of like a little bit awkward even right now for them to maybe try that again coming off Terminator Genesis. Like, oh, we got Arnold back from a movie you loved him in the 80s. On the other hand, I do think there's such different franchises, and that the first 2 Terminators are just seen as such perfect movies that a lot of people would argue shouldn't have become a bigger franchise after that.
Right.
They told the story they needed to tell, even though I love Sarah Connor Chronicles. But as a movie series, nothing after the second one really delivered, and they should have left well enough alone, where Predator kind of lends itself to different movies, different adventures, and as great as the first movie is, it's not quite as, it's not like held up on the pedestal that those Terminator films are, the first 2. So, I'm more open to this. I'm very excited by Shane Black doing this movie.
Yeah.
And so I could see it being, he could maybe do something really fun with bringing Arnold back. From the studio's point of view, I don't think there's anything that would make them go, yes, Arnold, that's it. Yeah. That's going to make this a hit.
They'll team him, well, frankly, they'll team him with another younger co-star like they did with Terminator Genesis.
Yeah.
Though, what do you think about Emilia Clarke as Lara Croft?
Oh, I thought you were going to say in Predator.
As the Predator.
With Arnold.
I dare say.
Emilia Clarke as Lara Croft? Maybe. It's hard for me because
it's too close to Terminator, I think.
Yeah, it's a little coming off of that. I think maybe she career-wise, I would say she probably shouldn't do something quite like that right now.
Well, all right. Well, I'm curious to see if Arnold comes back, will it be for the whole movie? Is he just there to get killed at the beginning?
Right.
Let's move on from Predator. Disney, poor Chris Pine. Disney made as much money on Zootopia's opening weekend
Yes.
as they lost on the Chris Pine movie from a couple of months ago, The Finest Hours, $75 million.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
so
unfortunate.
I haven't seen Zootopia. I want to. I'm going to go see it this weekend. It looks awesome. People love it.
It's great. I loved it.
Finest Hours, I thought was okay, but why can't poor Chris Pine, I think he's really talented. I think it was New York Daily News or somebody did kind of a hit piece on him the other day. I thought it was a little too, they called him wooden. That's the last word. I wouldn't say he's wooden.
Yeah, you're
Liam Hemsworth is wooden.
Yeah.
Not
Look, Jai Courtney.
Exactly.
No, Chris Pine.
Take that, Aussies.
Chris Pine is in the place that Ryan Reynolds has been for years until Deadpool.
It's called James Marsden Town.
yeah. There are some talented, charismatic actors who they don't get in the right fit. These movies that just sound good on paper and sound like this is going to be the right thing, and it just doesn't work. And I will bring, Reynolds is a great example because Reynolds for years, bomb after bomb after bomb, and a lot of people didn't like him or I think he's smarmy.
Van Wilder for years was an albatross around his neck.
Right.
And now people love him.
Yeah, and so Chris Pine, first of all, of course, it's he'll be fine. I mean, and he does have the Trek franchise. I mean, even with that second one not being that well received, it's still a hit, and there's still big movies that are.
He might do a fourth one after Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the big, frankly, if Star Trek Beyond doesn't perform, I think we're going to see him on a TV series.
Yeah, it's quite
which
possible.
Could be a better fit for him. I think he needs to start looking at sort of like the way Colin Farrell has become basically a utility player, or sort of supporting kind of ensemble guy.
Well, I'll say also that sometimes there are these guys who, it's funny to say, but sometimes their looks put them in a place where they wouldn't naturally be. And Chris Pine, I mean, the thing that I always remember being impressed by him first was Smoking Aces.
Yeah.
Where he's almost unrecognizable when he shows up. It's he could be more of a quirky character actor, and he's very funny in the Trek movies. Yeah. But he's got leading man good looks, and so they put him in these. Right. And The Finest Hours was a very old school traditional thing, and maybe that's not the right type of thing for him.
No. Let's see. Zootopia is expected to remain number one this weekend. Yep. It's tracking at about 48 million. 10 Cloverfield Lane. I saw it last night. It's awesome.
So I have to leave soon to go see it.
He's going to see it.
Yes.
So come on.
I have tickets.
It's really good. I liked it quite a bit. I agree with Lucy O'Brien's review of it on the site. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, there's another one. I'm glad that this movie happened for her, because we were kind of where did she go? She was so good. She's so talented, and she's nice, and So I hope this opens up the door to other things. I know she's got some TV shows that she's doing now.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a couple
more movies.
Yeah, a couple different TV shows. I mean, she might not have that much free time since her show Mercy Street just got renewed, and she's working on a show called Brain Dead for CBS. So she's got 2 TV shows going.
I know, but I really want her to end up in the MCU.
And it'll happen eventually. She'll be in a superhero movie. I just rewatched Scott Pilgrim this past weekend, which is so great, and once more had a little bit of I wish this movie hadn't bombed, because it's so great feeling about it.
Okay. So I'm thinking my pitch here, 2 people I have in mind for Captain Marvel in the MCU, Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Kate McKinnon. She's on SNL, she's in Ghostbusters, the blonde one.
Yeah.
Just think about it, people. Just think about it.
I do think I would say, going back to the Ghostbusters trailer, Kate McKinnon made me laugh a lot, and I kind of think she might steal that movie.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. That's why I'm thinking. And they can probably get her for not too much money. Grimsby, Brothers Grimsby, as we call it in the States, is opening this weekend, and it is tracking at about 6 million.
Yeah.
Is Sacha Baron Cohen basically dead here stateside?
I think so. I think it was a giant moment for him. But don't forget, even Bruno way underperformed. It was Borat was the thing.
Yeah.
Borat was a huge success in every way.
It was his Austin Powers, basically, and then
but I mean, the Austin Powers
Love Guru then.
But the Austin Powers movies had, of course, huge sequels. Because Bruno, don't forget, was pretty much positioned like a Borat sequel without being one. So it just seems like that was a moment. Whereas it seems like in the UK it was more like he was successful a lot longer on a more high profile basis, but then he had his movie star moment.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's look, he was in Les Mis, and he works a lot.
He works, and he's going to be in Alice Through the Looking Glass, and maybe he really is meant to be more of a kind of character actor over here. But yeah, I just feel like him as the comedy star, that moment just seems to have passed. Like Borat was it, but I think people have just tired of that kind of shtick too. I mean, his Ali G thing at the Oscars, which, by the way, we didn't do a podcast after the Oscars. I'm sorry, show after the Oscars, but we did talk about the winners. So let's just acknowledge that Spotlight won Best Picture on our movie show. Yes, confirmed. No longer just a rumor. But yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah. And then my final thing I just want to ask about, Tom Hiddleston said this week that he is interested in the role of James Bond, that he's a fan of it. Do you think he'd make a good James Bond?
It's weird because I love Hiddleston. I don't picture him naturally as Bond, even though clearly he can play someone with an edge and danger. I don't know. I hate to say this, and maybe I'm thinking too much of that very funny commercial he's in with Kingsley and Mark Strong. But
that's right.
It's like, you think of him more as like the British villain,
Yeah, he'd be a better Bond villain, right?
Yeah, it's hard for me to see him as like even, I mean, again, there's a lot of other reasons he wouldn't have been right for Thor, but thinking back that he auditioned to play Thor initially. I don't know.
And you can see that online on the Blu-rays.
I don't know. I can't quite
really
picture him as Bond. I think I can understand why he would say I would love to do it because who wouldn't? Especially if you're a British actor. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite there with that.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show.
By the way, I was going to give you a few more minutes if you needed them. So I'm impressed how quickly you.
Look, man. I try to. I'm sorry. We had no time for reader email this week. Reader email is to us what Matt Damon is to Jimmy Kimmel. Sorry, guys. We'll get to it next week. I do want to give a shout out though to a lot of the IGN shows that now can show up on multiple platforms on our PS4. We have the Xbox app. We have all sorts of things. I'll get my spiel down better next week.
There are many places you can find our
IGN
content.
is not just on the website itself. We're everywhere. We're in this little doohickey. We're on my Roku.
Yes.
So, but check out some of our shows on these different platforms, particularly Superhero Show. I'm a big fan of. And
Rebel Base.
So that'll do it for this week's show. Follow us on Twitter at the Eric Goldman, at Jim Vejvoda. I don't need a the. Like Madonna, I'm the only one.
You're not fighting with another Eric Goldman for your Twitter name?
But until next time, for all things movies, keep it here on IGN.